It's 10:27. Why the hell are you at a club? The music's too loud, the beer's too expensive, you're sweltering in your nice clothes, you can't carry a conversation at all with the people near you. Is this really how you want to spend your weekends? You bemoan your current situation in your head, trying to convince yourself, I'm being social. It's okay. It's cool. It's cool. All through the night, you're going to be thinking that until 15 minutes before last call, and you see her walking. And then suddenly, everything's okay. And you're thinking, okay, cool. As if the sight of her in person made the waiting worth it. The DJ fumbles with his deck and you have a few moments to strike up a conversation. It goes swimmingly and you join her outside as she takes a long drag from her cigarette. As she exhales, it's a smoke signal, telling you she's funny, attractive, and really clicks with you. As the smoke signals fade, it sputters a thought in your head. She's not the gal you're going to introduce to your mother. Her name is the X60. Whether or not she has a cause, you know she's a rebel. Some say everything around her and about her comprises the moral decay of our society. Is this the kind of woman your mother warned you about? Let's find out. The Noxary X60 by Zondat is an aluminum case with 8 degrees of angle on the base and can be dressed with 3 different flavors of aluminum tops. There is the HHKB top, the windkeyless top, and the plain 60% top. The only answers that'll catch my eye are the HHKB and windkeyless tops. I like a girl with style after all. Those styles come in black, dark gray, silver, gold, or red. The options for the case-mounted plates were aluminum or stainless steel. Carbon was the only available for the lucky 10 fellas who got the carbon edition. 30 limited edition keyboards were numbered on the bottom of each weight. Unlike classy ladies like the Fiel, the X60's tattoo is visible on the back, which is a nice sight on the weight to see. Similarly to the Fiel, the brass weight is unfinished, meaning you'll be able to streak your fingerprints all across as you pull her closer. As an exercise of design, the X60 is a simple design. No need for any fancy underglow or acrylic layers. I talked with Zondat regarding the design, asking him about his inspirations for running the keyboard as a group buy and his inspirations behind its design. Zondat told me that when he originally started designing the keyboard, there were only 2 fully aluminum options in this category, the K-Mac Happy and OTD 356 Mini. The design aspect was simple. He told me the basis of the design of the case was built around being built and functional. The size of the bezels on the top and bottom, for example, were determined simply by fitting screws for mounting. The visuals for the weight is just a classic design found in several OTD boards. All the plates are top mounted as opposed to tray mounted that you might find on the Fiel or a standard 60% keyboard. That means that the plate screws into the top of the case as opposed to standoffs on the bottom. The keyboard enters the ring weighing in at 4 pounds and 6.5 ounces fully built. So what kind of financial statements is a girl like the X60 looking for in a man? I started with a $53 deposit before I was allowed into the VIP room where I could see the shiny price tag of $313.20. After putting my Benjamins down, I still had to pay the shipping fee. And the shipping fee for me was $55 from the UK to the US, bringing my total to $421.20. For those of you who are new to customs, the hardest part to swallow is the price isn't for a finished keyboard, it's just for the case, plate, and hardware. I still had to source the PCB, stab switches, and keycaps. The X60 group I started in June 2016 with an expected delivery date of late November 2016. The cases actually ended up being shipped out July 2017. So, what happened along the way? Mostly just sitting around and twiddling our thumbs like with most delayed group buys, but this time with more delays, damages, and condemnations. So let's start off with the facts. The production of the cases were in fact finished by November like we all hoped they would be. Unfortunately, they weren't shipped by November. What took the lion's share of the time was the weight, which Zonnet was still considering final designs through March. This unfortunately means that the cases sat all of that time without quality checks until they arrived at Zondet's door. This is one of the buys where quality checks was something that was desperately needed because many of the cases left the factory with many imperfections. Between the amount of money the case cost with shipping and long delays, people were getting quite antsy, and the long delays didn't help. When the pictures of the damages came in, Zondat's planned vacation at the time didn't help with the slow communication between himself and participants of the group buy, causing a lot of ire and anger. And there was a lot of varying damages to most of the keyboards. Zondat did take pictures of some of the worst affected cases to show people. So if you look at the pictures on the screen, which will hopefully be there, you can see some cases had anodization defects, hook marks, scratches. Some colors like black were more affected than others. The difficult part for many to swallow was Zondat letting us know some even more unfortunate news. There were no additional funds remaining to fix the keyboards, and the factory would do nothing about the damages. This left people quite angry, since many expected to receive a quality board with no defects, so a lot of people ended up with very sour tastes in their mouth. I don't want to get too deep into everything, but I do want something to be clear with everyone. Whether or not you like or care about Zondat as an individual, he didn't want this group buy to fail, and that's the truth of basically all group buy runners. So who's to get damage cases and who's to get slightly better cases? Zondat chose the democratic option and let those in the group buy vote. I could get into the boring logistics of how it worked out, but basically most groups chose to let people pick which boards based off of the invoice date. And I'm pretty sure I was in earlier order, since I did end up being able to pick from a pretty nice selection, so I was able to choose one with extremely minimal damage. I'm happy that, at the end of the day, people did get their keyboards. From most of the pictures I've seen of people posting their keyboards, the damages weren't as bad as we were believed to be. I can't fully confirm that, because I've only seen a handful of people post their X60 boards. With all that out of the way, the case is in fact very pleasant. It's hefty and feels good in your hands. Careful when handling though, because there's nothing to grasp the keyboard by. It's a keyboard I'll have to make sure to add a pick up with both hands note at meetup. So, she's not the gal you're going to bring back to meet your mother, but you're going to bring her back to your home and see what she's rocking underneath, if you know what I mean. Rocking underneath, what does she have? These switches though, Originally, many may remember I had stock Halo clears on this keyboard, which were wonderful, wonderful switches. I have since changed them. Dubbed Holy Pandas by my top class co-host Quakums, Holy Pandas are the best MX tactile switch that we have tried out. We've even had them recorded in the echelons of switch history, known as Hata's Plotly. So what is a Holy Panda? It's not Huey being blessed by the Pope, it's taking the housing and spring of a Panda switch and using the stem of a Halo switch. When I brought these to Hata for the force curves tests, he told me something very interesting, something a bit reminiscent to me in keyboard terms. He told me, in his professional keyboard opinion, that these springs were possibly the lightest that would work well for the setup of housing and stem. Going lighter would further compromise the already somewhat compromised return feel of the switch. To get around this, Brian and I have both lubed our Holy Pandas. Mine are lubed with Krelbit's Type 0203 lube. What I meant when I meant the compromised return feel is that Hata believed that the return feel of these switches could be better than they are, but because of the drag due to either the tight tolerances of the housing or the light spring, there is an extra drag and a bit of scratchiness on that return upstroke. Honestly, in my experience, it isn't really anything noticeable, and I wouldn't mark it against the switches in day-to-day typing. But so what are these switches like? Mounted on a steel plate, these switches feel incredibly tactile. As my fingers caress the X60, my oh my, did they sink in. Near the top of the switch trowel, it's very reminiscent of Topra in certain tactile outs, with a satisfying tactile bump right on top, giving me a sensation of wanting to dance my fingers across the keys as I type. The weighting is about the same as the Panda Switch, still 67 grams since I reused the spring. It's a weight that I have been quite a fan of before. By no means, though, is this keyboard quiet. With that steel plate and aluminum case, it's mostly with the spacebar that's ridiculously loud. Brian had the same issues on his X60 before resorting to swapping out his Holy Panda for a 78 gram MX silent switch with lube, and then he had to throw some extra lube on his stabs and an extra layer of silencing foam. Mine, though, is still the Holy Panda with that really loud clacking noise. We both think that it might be a design issue with the X60 and its plate on how the spacebar always hits it, but I always like a little noise with my keyboards. Sound has never been a big deal with me because I prioritize the typing experience. The MX HHKB layout, these switches, and this case with the plate. Such a wonderful combo. The keycaps you've primarily seen in this review have been GMK muted, which ran on Keyclack. There is also a shot of the board with GMK Iris, which is on Z Frontier. The cherry stabs are lubed with Krelbit's Type 0203, and the PCB is a sprit, which makes for easy programming. This keyboard shines in day-to-day use. After spending many a night with her, she's not a rebel with a better cause. Heck, it'd almost be a sin to say she rebels. She just does what I want so well, and this is one of the best keyboards I've built. She is simple, yet elegant. One of my favorite keyboards to date. Thank you for watching.